ये असेंबली जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों के जज्बात को रिफ्लेक्ट करती है। हकीकत यह है कि जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों ने 5 अगस्त 2019 के फैसले पे अपना मोहर नहीं लगाया है। अगर लगाया होता तो नतीजे अलग होते। हम इस तरफ बैठे हैं, अक्सरियत उन लोगों की है जिन्होंने 5 अगस्त 2019 के फैसलों के खिलाफ अपनी आवाज बुलंद की। अब हाउस इसको किस तरह रिफ्लेक्ट करेगी, इस पर किस तरह बातचीत होगी, इसको किस तरह रिकॉर्ड पे लाया जाएगा, ये एक सिंगल ऑनरेबल मेंबर तय नहीं करेगा। आगे जाके जब प्राइवेट मेंबर बिजनेस का सिलसिला शुरू होगा मेन सेशन में, तब इंडिविजुअल ऑनरेबल मेंबर्स जो लाना चाहे वो लाएं। लेकिन फिलहाल इस सेशन में हाउस की तरफ से क्या बात होगी, क्या रेजोल्यूशन लाया जाएगा, क्या किया जाएगा, वो गवर्नमेंट ट्रेजरी बेंचेस तय करेगी आपकी इजाजत के साथ। तो जो रेजोल्यूशन आज लाया गया है उसकी कोई मतलब अहमियत नहीं है। वो मां सिवाय बदकिस्मती से कैमरास को दिखाने के अलावा उसका और कोई मकसद नहीं है। अगर मकसद होता तो शायद ये लोग हमारे से मशवरा करके तय करते कि हाउस की तरफ से क्या बात आनी चाहिए। अब छोड़िए, स्पीकर साहब आने वाले दिनों में आपके साथ मशवरा करने के बाद हाउस के तरफ से एक प्रपोजल आ जाएगा जिस पर बहस होगी और फैसला होगा। मैं अब आपसे गुजारिश करता हूं कि आप मेहरबानी करके हाउस को फिलहाल अर्जन करिए और हम गवर्नर साहब के खुतबे के लिए दोबारा जमा होंगे।
Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, they are addressing the Assembly, Jammu and Kashmir Assembly. This is the first Assembly session after the elections, and what we could see was there was a lot of ruckus there in that assembly, and the police and security forces had to intervene. In fact, my colleague Nazir Masoodi joins us to get us more on this. Nazir, the Chief Minister there, he made a couple of important points. He mentioned that the people of Jammu and Kashmir did not agree with the 5th August 2019 decision and is the reason why the National Conference is sitting in power, which has irked a lot of opposition members there. And he also said that they are going to come up with resolution, and they will consult all everyone in the Jammu and Kashmir polity before before coming up with that resolution. Just explain it to us. What exactly happened in that assembly session today?
Well, there was a pandemonium. There was chaos in the assembly as a member impromptu tried to introduce a resolution while thanking the speakers, showing his appreciation for the election of the speaker. Members were actually speaking over the election of Speaker of Abdurrahim Rasa as Speaker. But in that speech, PDP MLA Wahidur Rahman Para said, "Oh, I'm reading a resolution and saying that we reject the abrogation of Article 370." On which BJP members stood up, and there was a pandemonium in the assembly, and they didn't sit down. And despite insistence from the speaker that he has not got the copy and he has not admitted it and he has not examined it yet. So, but it created this pandemonium, and some people tried to, rush into the well of the house. The members rushed into the well of the house. Finally, Chief Minister Umar Abdullah, who is the leader of the house as well, and he stood up and spoke. And he made some strong comments and saying perhaps the member tried to do, they knew it, he was trying to do, but he never expected he will do it when we were when the House was actually electing the speaker and waiting for the governor's address, which is going to start in a while from now. And he said, though there would be a resolution when private members will pass, introduce the resolution on that day. And if the member was sincere, he could have discussed with the ruling party, ruling bench who had the majority. Then it could have been, and he even alleged the member that he is trying to play with the gallery, play with the cameras because he wants to be on the cameras rather than doing something serious. So having said that, it was on the first day of assembly, which was all about electing a speaker, and also governor's address was started with lot of racks, lot of pandemonium, or an impromptu, paper read by PDP legislator Wahid Rahman Parra, and then Chief Minister had made some strong remarks alleging him that playing to the gallery, not actually interested in the resolution, which he indicated that the government would be introducing a resolution, and Umar Abdullah clearly said not a single person was happy with the abrogation of Article 370 in the people of Jammu and Kashmir were not happy. And if they were happy, then they would not have won the election, and those who are opposing the abrogation of 370 are in the tragedy bench, not in the opposition bench. So clearly, the first day has started with a lot of racks and pandemonium in Jammu and Kashmir Assembly.
Absolutely. There was a lot of fireworks on the very first day of the Assembly session in Jammu and Kashmir. Nazir, just give us a sense of what all could have been discussed, because there is also another important point that wasn't discussed is the surge in militant violence in Jammu and Kashmir, and that is something that must be there on the agenda. All right, we'll try and get back Nazir back on the line and get more details on this particular story. But moving on to our other big story that we are tracking at this hour is a bus crash that has taken place in Uttarakhand. 20 people are feared dead, and many others are injured after a bus met with an accident in Almora district of Uttarakhand on Monday. Now, the bus with at least 45 passengers aboard went out of control near Kupi village in Marchula, and it fell into a deep gorge. The bus was going from Pauri to Ramnagar when this accident took place. Meanwhile, relief and rescue work is on. The Nainital district police is also engaged in relief work there. And my colleague Kishore joins us to get us more on this. Kishore, just break it down for us. Give us the details of what exactly transpired there.
अभी जो सूचना मिल रही है इसमें लगभग 20 लोगों की डेथ हुई है जो सूचना मिल रही है। इसके अलावा घायलों का रामनगर और अल्मोड़ा जो पास का नज़दीक है यानी हल्द्वानी वहाँ पर इलाज चल रहा है। लगभग सुबह 8:30 बजे के करीब ये हादसा हुआ है। कूपी एक जगह है अल्मोड़ा के मरचुला में, वहाँ पर ये बस डिसबैलेंस होके ये गहरी खाई में गिरी। जो लोकल वहाँ पर विलेजर्स थे तो वो तुरंत वहाँ पर पहुँचे, उन्होंने पुलिस को सूचना दी और जो उनके संसाधन थे उन्होंने सबसे पहले जो घायल लोग हैं उनको बाहर निकाला। करीबन 8:30 बजे ये बस का हादसा हुआ है। पौड़ी ज़िला जो है वहाँ से ये रामनगर जा रहे थे। चूँकि दिवाली और भैया दूज के बाद लोग अपने घर वापस आ रहे थे और कुछ गांव गए थे, इसके अलावा कुछ अपने कामकाज वापस लौट रहे थे, तो बस में संभवतः ये माना जा रहा है कि भीड़ ज़्यादा थी। 45 सीटर ये बस थी। तो इसने 8:30 बजे के करीब जब ये मरचुला के पास कूपी गांव के पास पहुंची तो इसने नियंत्रण खो दिया और ये बस गहरी खाई में गिरी, जिसकी वजह से एक बड़ा भीषण हादसा हुआ है। जो तस्वीर है उसमें साफ दिख रहा है कि बस कितनी बुरी तरह क्षतिग्रस्त हुई है और उसमें जो घायल थे वो छिटक कर कई जगह दूर गिरे। इसके अलावा जो वहाँ पर रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन के लिए SDRF, स्थानीय पुलिस, मेडिकल टीमें वहाँ पहुँच चुकी है, जो लगातार घायलों को वहाँ हॉस्पिटल पहुँचाया है जहाँ इलाज चल रहा है। लेकिन अभी तक जो जानकारी मिल रही है उसमें लगभग 20 लोगों की डेथ हुई है इस भीषण हादसे में। फिलहाल मुख्यमंत्री ने भी निर्देश दिया कि घायलों को तुरंत इलाज के लिए रेफ़र किया जाए, बड़े हॉस्पिटल रेफ़र किया जाए, एयर एम्बुलेंस को भी भेजा गया है। इसके अलावा जो तमाम रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन है वो लगातार अभी भी चल रहा है और इस बात की तलाश की जा रही है कि कोई व्यक्ति बस से, क्योंकि काफ़ी नीचे गिरी है, तो छिटक कर बस से कहीं आसपास की जो झाड़ियाँ हैं फिर या कहीं और ना अटका हो, इसलिए वहाँ पर रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन अभी भी चल रहा है। फिलहाल अभी इस बारे में कहना मुश्किल है कि हादसा किन कारणों से हुआ, लेकिन अभी इसकी जांच चल रही है और इसमें जो अल्मोड़ा के SSP है वो इसमें हो सकता है कि इसमें बयान दे और इसमें मीडिया को बताएं कि किस वजह से हादसा हुआ। लेकिन सोमवार का दिन उत्तराखंड के लिए काफ़ी काला साबित हुआ है, जिसमें लगभग 20 लोगों ने अपनी जान गंवाई है। जी।
All right, Kishore Rawat, thank you very much for getting us all the latest in that story. We'll keep coming back to you as things develop and we get more information. Meanwhile, after reports of multiple incidents of attacks in Canada and videos purportedly showing Khalistani elements have emerged, the Indian High Commission in Canada has now reacted and blamed anti-India elements for the violence outside the consular camp co-organized with the Hindu Sabha Mandir in Brampton. In a statement, the Indian High Commission has said that it is deeply disheartening to see such disruptions being allowed for routine consular work being organized by our consulates with the fullest cooperations of local co-organizers. While the Indian High Commission's latest statement makes no explicit reference to any Khalistani elements, the Mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown, he has called for punishment to the greatest extent of law for those held accountable for the violence. And my colleague Mohammed Ghazali joins us to get us more on this. Ghazali, how do we view these incidents, especially in the context of how things have developed as far as India-Canada relations are concerned?
See, this is exactly what the MEA, in their last response when asked about the India-Canada relations, responded by saying that despite all these tensions simmering between the two countries diplomatically, the Indian High Commission or the Indian government is more concerned about the Indians who are staying in Canada. And this was something like inevitable. This consular services or the camp organized by the Indian High Commission in Canada happens every year during this season in multiple gurdwaras and temples, because gurdwaras and temples act as a community center which is frequented by Indians who are staying in Canada. And this was also under the scanner because of the rising tension, the protest by the Khalistani elements, and it also had one court order which had asked the Canadian authorities to ensure that when these camps are organized in temples or gurdwaras at least, there should be a buffer zone out of which or away from which these protesters can protest. But what we saw outside this Hindu temple there yesterday, last night in Canada, is that a huge group of protesters gathered there. Khalistani elements or people who support the cause of Khalistan, they got very violent with the devotees there, and what the reports and pictures suggest that perhaps devotees who were women and children were also attacked inside the Gurdwara, inside the temple, while they were trying to flee from there. Now, overall, if you ask that how should we see this entire incident, it certainly appears that the relationship between the two countries have now taken a nosedive, and in no clear terms we can say that perhaps to restore this relationship, the Canadian authorities will have to rein in these elements, which the Indian government has repeatedly raised a request with the Canadian authorities time and again to rein in these elements, because this is not the first time this is happening. We had seen protest outside the High Commission. We have seen protest against the diplomats, including the outgoing diplomat or the recently recalled Indian High Commissioner in Canada, Mr. Sanjeev Verma. He has faced multiple protests in the last 3 to 5 years since he was posted there, and this has now started, the repercussion is such that now the Indian community within Canada is not safe, and there are protests by Sikh groups, there are protests by non-Sikh groups who are staying there, and there are multiple reports which are emerging that now a counter-protest is happening in front of certain gurdwaras in Canada. So overall, it's a law and order situation, but for Indian government, the safety of Indian citizens there is paramount, and that is why the Indian High Commission in Canada has also issued a statement condemning the violence, but also asking the Canadian authorities to check these rising incidents of violence against Indian community by Khalistani elements.
All right, Mohammed Ghazali, thank you very much for getting us all the details and breaking it down for us and simplifying it for us. And as Trump's campaign works to clear up his remarks about shooting the media, Kamala Harris dodged questions about her vote on a California crime measure, but in the last dash to the election finish line on Tuesday, Kamala Harris's team is cautiously optimistic about her chances of victory in what continues to be an extremely tight race. Big question that we are asking is, which way is this election going?
So Michigan, 2 days to go. You ready? You ready? In one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it? And we have the momentum momentum because our campaign is tapping into the ambitions, the aspirations, and the dreams of the American people. Because we are optimistic and excited about what we can do together.
To our great sports fans, and I hope you're having a fantastic time. We're 2 days away from the most important election in the history of our country. We've got to save our country, and it needs saving. It's in very bad shape. The worst economic numbers in generations were just announced 2 days ago. We're losing jobs, we're losing everything, including viability. We're going to end up in a depression based on what's been happening. We've never seen anything like it, at least for the last 40 years. We have to straighten out our country. We have to close our borders. We have to lower our taxes. We have to get rid of inflation, and we're going to do it. Just remember, Kamala and her friends broke it. I'll fix it. Most important election in the history of our country. Go and vote.
Meanwhile, NDTV World is on the ground to get you the pulse of what America thinks. We're also covering the US elections extensively. Our reporters are spread out in battleground states of the United States, and we have experts decoding all the key developments on this big global story. In fact, you can log on to ndtv.com/US elections for all the details.
On November 5th, every election season, the US air crackles with anticipation. The nation holds its breath, caught in the whirlwind of democracy. Here's what unfolds in this dramatic saga. Polls close and the hush of uncertainty blankets the country. Voters anxiously await results, their fates hanging in a balance. Election workers, fueled by coffee and adrenaline, dive into the monumental task of counting ballots, a process fraught with tension and suspense. As the night deepens, the first waves of results trickle in. States light up on the map, red and blue battles playing out in real time. Twitter explodes, pundits speculate, and hope flickers like a candle in the storm. In battleground states, margins are razor thin, and every vote feels like a heartbeat. Days turn into weeks as the results are certified. Behind the scenes, election officials work tirelessly, verifying votes and ensuring integrity. In contested states, lawyers gear up for potential challenges, ready to navigate the labyrinth of legal disputes. Tension mounts as the clock ticks. Every hour, every minute feels like eternity. Fast forward to December, the appointed electors gather, each one a pivotal piece in the electoral puzzle. With the nation watching, they cast their votes, their decisions shrouded in intrigue. Will they stick to the will of the voters, or will surprises emerge? January 6, 2025 dawns, the day Congress meets to count the electoral votes. The atmosphere is electric, a theatre of democracy in action. Politicians clash, tensions rise, and the stakes are sky high. Will the outcome be a smooth transition of power, or will the ghosts of division haunt the capital? Finally, the moment arrives. January 20th, 2025 is more than a date, it's a spectacle. The air is thick with emotion as the President-elect and Vice President-elect take their oaths, their voices echoing against the backdrop of history. Cheers and jeers blend into a cacophony of hope, fear, and promise as a new chapter in the American story begins. In this dramatic aftermath, the nation grapples with the implications of the election. It is a reminder that democracy is not just a process, but a vibrant, tumultuous journey filled with possibility. The stage is set, and the world watches, captivated by the unfolding drama of the American spirit. An NDTV Bureau Report.
Time now for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
So a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy.
We reached an agreement on patrolling. We have gone back to where the situation was in 2020, and we can say with that the disengagement process with China, you can say, has been completed. The understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020.
I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
It was the grand launch of NDTV World by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Well, as far as the Maharashtra polls are concerned, the rebel headache is taking over both the Mahayuti alliance as well as the Mahavikas Aghadi. A key BJP leader placed by the party, Gopal Shetty, he is set to withdraw his nomination. Shetty, in fact, has filed his nomination as an independent. Remember, the last day of nominations for withdrawal is today.
सर, दिन भर कल आपको मनाया जा रहा था, सागर बंगले पर भी ले जाया गया। आखिर आपने फैसला क्या लिया?
देखिए, आप एक बहुत बड़े न्यूज़ चैनल वाले हो। मेरा पहले दिन से अगर मेरे मुद्दे को आप देखेंगे तो मेरा एकदम लाइन एक ही था पहले दिन से। मैं जो कुछ भी कर रहा हूँ, मैं चुनाव लड़ने के लिए कर नहीं रहा हूँ, मैं चुनाव जीतने के लिए नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं पार्टी के लिए कर रहा हूँ, मैं पार्टी के साथ में रहूँगा, मैं दूसरे पार्टी में नहीं जाऊँगा। और एक बार ये भी कहा था कि मुझे पार्टी अभी पार्टी के चुनाव से लड़ने को कहेंगे तो भी मैं नहीं लड़ूंगा। तो इसमें पूरी बात आ गई, मैं मानता हूँ। अगर मैं पार्टी के चुनाव चिन्ह पर भी अगर लड़ने के लिए मन बनाता तो मैं चुनाव लड़ने के लिए सब कर रहा हूँ, ये सिद्ध हो जाएगा। तो मेरा जो इतना लंबा जीवन का जो कैरियर था, पॉलिटिकल कैरियर और सामाजिक कैरियर, वो पूरा ख़त्म हो जाता था कि मैं चुनाव लड़ने के लिए सब कर रहा हूँ। मैंने जो कुछ भी किया, मैंने ये भी बात कहा बार बार कि मैं पार्टी के लिए कर रहा हूँ कि आगे ऐसा ना हो। और मैंने ये भी कहा कि पार्टी के नेताओं से भी मेरा कोई झगड़ा नहीं है, लेकिन पार्टी में कुछ नेता है वो जो इस प्रकार का काम कर रहे हैं।
लेकिन अभी क्या हुआ, आप जो मान गए या नहीं मान गए?
मैं पहले दिन से ही मान काम कर बैठा हूँ।
यानी पर्चा वापस लेंगे?
हाँ, उसमें कोई छुपी हुई बात नहीं ना, उसमें कोई छुपी हुई बात नहीं। पहले दिन से मैं कर रहा हूँ, मैं जो कुछ भी कर रहा हूँ पार्टी हित के लिए कर रहा हूँ। पार्टी में और आगे आने वाले दिनों में ऐसा ना होना चाहिए, इसलिए मैं कर रहा हूँ। और मुझे गर्व इस बात का है कि ऐसा बहुत जगह पे होता है, लेकिन इतने पार्टी के नेता समझाने के लिए जाते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है। मेरे यहाँ पर किरीट सोमैया जी, रघुनाथ कुलकर्णी जी, विनोद तावड़े जी तीसरी बार आए हैं। राम नाईक जी देवेंद्र जी के पास जाकर 2 घंटा बैठकर उन्होंने भी बातचीत किया इस उम्र में। और परसों रात को 12:08 पर उन्होंने मुझे फ़ोन पे बात की। तो इन सारे लोगों ने, मैं पार्टी से अलग ना हूँ, मैं तो पार्टी से अलग होने वाला, मैंने ये भी बात बताई थी, पार्टी में से निकालना ये उनका काम है, पार्टी नहीं छोड़ना है मेरा काम है, ये भी मैंने कहा था।
All right, breaking news coming in at this point. The Jammu and Kashmir Governor, Manoj Saxena, he's speaking. Let's listen in to what he has to say.
Improved living facilities like roads, public transportation, electricity, drinking water, sanitation, schools, healthcare facilities, healthy and congenial environment, internet connectivity, etc., which enable them to lead a happy life, will also be fulfilled. Connectivity is crucial for the economy. While improvements have been made in the road network, more efforts are required to connect the remaining inaccessible areas. My government will fully leverage funds from centrally sponsored schemes like PMGSY and NABARD funded programs to realize the vision of connectivity, every habitation with a road. Implementation of major ongoing connectivity projects will be fast-tracked by facilitating acquisition of land, forest clearances, and removal of encroachments. Ongoing expressway, national highway, and ring road projects for Jammu and Srinagar cities will be speeded up for their early completion. Work on the upgradation and consolidation of the Jammu-Rajouri-Punch National Highway will be expedited for its early completion. New national highway projects will be taken up with the central government to improve connectivity to remote and backward pockets to accelerate economic growth. Connectivity of rail to the valley, which will be a reality soon, will be a turning point for economic development and prosperity. Night landing facilities at Jammu and Srinagar airports will further enhance connectivity and boost the tourism sector further. My government will take all necessary measures to ensure that the development dividend of these initiatives reaches the remotest pockets and uplifts their lives and livelihood. My government will pursue implementation of projects for rail connectivity to important unconnected areas, including the border districts of Rajouri and Punch, with the Government of India. My government is committed to provide 200 units of free electricity to deserving households, for which modalities are being worked out. J&K is endowed with abundance of water resources that are yet to be harnessed fully. My government is committed to harnessing their full potential so that their economy...
All right, the Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha there addressing the newly elected assembly, where he has promised multiple infrastructural projects for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, BJP in Karnataka is protesting in front of 4 taluk offices in Bengaluru. Prominent leaders like R. Ashok and Ashwath Narayan, they are leading the protest in different places. This is mainly to protest the Karnataka Waqf issue and what the BJP terms as Congress's anti-farmers stand. They're also demanding the resignation of Minorities Minister Zamir Khan. And my colleague Pratibha Raman joins us to get us more on this. Pratibha, just take us through what is happening there at these protests, and just give us the background of what exactly these protests are all about.
Well, it is definitely the Waqf issue that has become a political flashpoint of sorts in Karnataka, mainly with several of the farmer lands that have the Waqf board property that has been mentioned in several of the land records, and that has definitely not gone down well with the farmers. They say that this is a recent development and they have absolutely no idea how this land has suddenly, that has been belonging to the farmers for several number of years, has now suddenly been mentioned as a Waqf property in land records. Even though the Chief Minister has mentioned categorically that several notices that have been given to the farmers will be taken back and that this anti-farmer stand will be rectified, keeping the by-election in mind, the BJP has been relentlessly protesting. The Congress has termed it politicization of the issue. I have with me Mr. Anil Chalagiri, who's one of the most senior BJP karyakartas. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Why is it that you're protesting even after the Congress has said that they would be withdrawing the notices?
It's very unfortunate that Congress has been saying that, they always talk about constitution and they say BJP doesn't follow, but they do follow. But under the same constitution rules, they have been illegally acquiring the lands of Kannadigas, they have been illegally acquiring the lands of farmers, they have been illegally acquiring the lands of Hindus using the government machinery and through Waqf. This has been going for a very long time. After Congress government came in Karnataka last year, they have declared about 1.5 lakhs of Waqf land in Karnataka itself. So in terms of supporting the Waqf, they have been doing very much injustice with the farmers of Karnataka. Today, BJP across the state, under the leadership of our state president B.Y. Vijay, we have been doing protest. Our demand has been same. One, it is not just taking those notices back. We want the chief minister to remove the Waqf property, which they have mentioned in RTC and Pahani, because it's just a eyewash that taking notices back, that's not going to help. That's not even our demand. Hindus and the people of Karnataka and the farmers' demand has been a single point, is we do not want any Waqf land, but we want what belongs to us. Waqf has been doing injustice with us.
Most of the farmers' lands must be given back. There must be absolutely no mention of Waqf in the land records. That must be obliterated from the land records, and that has been the single most point that has been raised by all the farmers as well as the opposition here. All eyes are on the Congress reaction soon after this protest.
All right, Pratibha Raman, thank you very much for getting us all the latest from that protest there happening in Karnataka. Meanwhile, the air pollution situation in both the metros, that is Delhi as well as in Mumbai, it is deteriorating. India's biggest metros are breathing toxic air, and as far as Delhi is concerned, the air quality index is in the severe category. The polluted air in parts of Delhi, the air quality has plummeted in Mumbai as well. The AQI, speaking about Delhi, it dipped to as low as 432 in Anand Vihar in Delhi, and the PM2.5 concentration was recorded 59 times higher than the WHO limit. Delhi government, it has set to deploy 200 mobile anti-smog guns. This after the Delhi Environment Minister Gopal Rai, he had inaugurated these anti-smog guns, mobile anti-smog guns, a couple of days ago. Meanwhile, in Mumbai, the air quality continues to remain in the poor category. Mumbai suburbs, they were the worst hit by air pollution. My colleagues Anuj Raithe and Shreya Ghosh both join us for this particular story. Shreya, first, to you first. CAQM has already filed multiple complaints against the Punjab and the Haryana government, mostly because of the issue of stubble burning. What are the authorities saying right now, and what are the major reasons for the air pollution, especially in the National Capital Region as for now?
Well, stubble burning's contribution to Delhi's air pollution has been brought down to 15% from 37%. Of course, authorities are taking concrete actions to crack down these stubble burning cases in the neighboring states in Punjab, Haryana, UP, Madhya Pradesh. But the other factors which play an important role in spiking the pollution levels in the winter season is, of course, the increasing vehicular emission. As you can see, I'm right now in a central road here in Mandi House, and you can see this entire area it looks like a complete gas chamber. We can see reduced visibility, and there's this thick layer of smog surrounding this entire area, and the reason being, of course, the vehicular emission. And although we have seen anti-smog guns being deployed and water being sprinkled to reduce the dust pollution as much as possible, yet we see that these small measures haven't been proven quite successful in combating the annual air pollution crisis. Also, as data shared by the Commission for Air Quality Management, the authorities have in fact cracked down upon still do not comply with the pollution control norms. Several vehicles, overaged vehicles have been fined, and also vehicles that do not have the pollution under control certificate. Almost 54,000 of these vehicles have been fined since October 15 till date, and these certain measures have been taken definitely, but the air quality continues to deteriorate, especially in the severely densely populated areas have seen severe air quality such as Anand Vihar, Ashok Vihar, Mundka. These areas have seen worsening air quality as we approach the winter season. Over to you.
Right, and over to Anuj Raithe now, who's standing in one of the poshest areas in Mumbai, the Malabar Hills. Anuj, just give us a sense of, what are the major reasons for air pollution there? From what we understand as of now, the primary sources of air pollution in Mumbai at this point is construction, apart from vehicular emissions, etc. But what are the authorities saying, and what are the measures that are being taken by the authorities there?
I think we should look at pollution, air pollution specifically, very differently from how we do it in Mumbai to Delhi, especially because it's got a very peculiar style of geography, and that is why, when you go from one region to the other region here in the city, the air quality will change completely given the fact that it's a coastal city. And as you said, I'm standing here in one of the most posh area of the city. This is Malabar Hill, and I'd like my video journalist to show the coastline, and you can see how the visibility is getting slightly better than what was the case in the morning. But then, considering that this is still peak afternoon hours, it is still expected to be much better than this. It would have been way better if there was no or very little pollution on any other November afternoon. But talking about the reasons about why this is going upwards in the last few years, of course, as you said, construction, vehicular emission is two of the very important reasons. But as far as the authorities' approach is concerned, the BMC has been trying to put in place several guidelines, and they've actually done that. Last year we saw that a series of guidelines were put in place in the month of October, but the implementation of those guidelines is a major concern. Right? There has not been a blanket policy as far as Mumbai pollution is concerned, probably because this entire phenomenon is slightly, is fairly recent here in the city as compared to the other parts of the country, especially in Delhi. Which is why we are seeing that whatever policies have been brought in place are very targeted policies. Be it policies towards construction companies, be it policies towards vehicular emission, etc. But as a whole, there has not been any particular step taken by the BMC. Neither has that happened, nor has there been any large-scale awareness program here in the city about the air pollution levels. It is expected that such programs and policies will come in place, given what we are experiencing this time around. But besides Mumbai, there are different other regions here in the state which are experiencing, higher or worse, relatively worse air quality. Be it the second-tier cities in Dhule, Nanded, Pimpri-Chinchwad. These are the places in northern and the western Maharashtra who do not necessarily have a lot of developmental projects going on there, but the air quality is still worse than what is the case in Mumbai and Pune, and that definitely is a point of concern for all the authorities.
Absolutely. Anuj Raithe and Shreya Ghosh, thank you very much for getting us all the latest in that story. An actor-politician Vijay's party TVK have passed resolutions opposing the NEET BJP's proposal for One Nation, One Election and the Waqf Amendment Bill. TVK meeting was chaired by Vijay himself. TVK also passed a resolution condemning the DMK government, alleging that the law and order situation in Tamil Nadu deteriorated under the government. Vijay, remember, announced his party's ideology and goals at the rally, which included equality, social justice, secularism, promotion of Tamil as the administrative language in courts, and removing the post of the governor.
NEET has to be abolished by the government of India. Caste census has to be taken by the government of India. If the state takes what happened to the caste survey conducted in Bihar, that is of no use. We said that we will fight for all those things. Caste census had not taken place in our whole manifesto. But subsequently we were speaking about it after Rahul Gandhi started speaking. We also started speaking. We also wanted it.
All right, my colleague Sam Daniel joins us to get us more on this. Sam, we have heard from the DMK, we have heard from the BJP, and both these parties, they are pretty much underplaying what the impact might be by TVK or Vijay himself. What is your assessment?
Well, it's quite uncharted, Osama, because although Tamil Nadu in the past has had stars as chief ministers, including M.G. Ramachandran and Jayalalitha, for quite some time that culture has been declining. Even big stars like Sivaji Ganesan, actor Vijay Gant, Kamal Hassan could not really make a big splash in politics beyond the initial buzz they could make. But what supporters of actor Vijay say is that in the case of the other actors, they came to politics at the retirement age in their film career. Unlike Vijay, who was making his political plunge at the peak of his career, and that, they say, will make a huge difference. Also, this is coming at a time when the AIADMK is yet to recover after the death of Jayalalitha. The party has been witnessing a series of electoral defeats after Edappadi Palliswamy, and before that they had a joint leadership with O. Pannirselvam. In this context, they hope that Vijay could be striking a chord with the bulk of the AIADMK voters who could be supporting him. But in a sense, these are all uncharted, and we'll have to wait for the elections to see how the Tamil Nadu voters would decide. But the larger political picture in Tamil Nadu is that a majority of voters are all already politically aligned with the two Dravidian majors, the ruling DMK and the AIADMK. And for Vijay to be able to be successful to capture power, he would have to really make deep inroads into both these political parties. And that's this big challenge of which he is supremely confident. But we'll have to wait and see whether that will work. But from what it appears from his yesterday's executive meeting, Vijay is trying to keep that momentum going, the one he built after the first conference at Viluppuram last Sunday, in which he tacitly attacked the BJP and openly the DMK. And now, in his Sunday's resolution statement, he has openly hit out both on the BJP at the centre on several issues and the ruling DMK at the state level. We'll have to see what kind of a momentum he would continue to build and what kind of a splash he would make in a bid to change the political landscape in Tamil Nadu, as his supporters claim. Osama.
Well, will the TVK and the actor turned politician Vijay make any dent there as far as the 2026 assembly elections is concerned in Tamil Nadu? We'll have to wait and watch. Sam Daniel, thank you very much for getting us the latest. And the NDTV world is covering the US elections extensively. Our reporters, they are spread out in battleground states of the United States, and we have experts decoding all the key developments on this big global story. You can in fact log on to ndtv.com/US elections for all the details. Meanwhile, it's time for a break.
तालियों के साथ हम स्वागत करेंगे आदरणीय मोदी जी का।
छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की।
Corruption first on the agenda and nation first.
घोषणा आणि जनतेचे पैसे लुटणं.
कट कमिशन आणि करप्शनला आमच्याकडे थारा नाही. त्यांचा परिवारवाद आमचा महाराष्ट्रवाद.
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये 1,75,000 जागा रिक्त आहेत. मग का भरत नाही? राज्याची जनतेच्या घमाच्या पैशाची तिजोरी लुटण्यासाठी हे सरकार आहे.
पूर्वीच्या सरकारच्या काळामध्ये निधी देताना त्यांना असं वाटायचं की त्यांच्याच खिशातले पैसे चालले. शेतकऱ्यांना मोफत वीज देण्याचं काम आपल्या सरकारने सुरू केलं.
NDTV proudly presents NDTV World Summit 2024, the India Century. I now request the Honorable Prime Minister to launch NDTV World and address the summit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's inaugural session at the NDTV Summit outlined his vision for the India Century, driven by aspirational India.
हमारा प्रयास होगा भारत की सेंचुरी सिर्फ भारत की नहीं बल्कि पूरी मानवता की जीत की सेंचुरी बने.
The summit brought together prominent global leaders, highlighting India's pivotal role on the world stage.
Not just Indians trusting India's leadership, but the global South especially trusting India's leadership.
Permanent seat on the UN Security Council is something that should be India's right.
Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that.
AI is going to be one of the most important, drivers.
It's a very exciting time for India, Indian cinema as well at a global level.
NDTV World Summit was more than just a conversation. It was a confluence of ideas poised to shape our global future.
As the world watches with bated breath, the contest that will impact the world.
Exclusive insights, expert analysis, and ground zero updates as history unfolds.
We are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictator.
I'm the opposite of a Nazi. The election that will have worldwide ramifications.
Immigration is far more than just a political talking point.
NDTV World brings you the best worldly insight from the US and across the world.
This is not just an election, it's a moment that will define a nation and the world, and we will be present.
Your view to the world. NDTV World.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Ruckus in the assembly. There's chaos that erupted in Jammu and Kashmir's first assembly session. The ruckus over PDP MLA's Article 370 resolution. Over 20 people have died after a bus has fallen into a gorge in Uttarakhand. Over 20 people have died. Many have been injured. The fear is that this death toll could go up. Karnataka Waqf land row, and it's a BJP statewide protest in the farmland labelled as Waqf property by officials. It's the Chief Minister who's gone on to say that he's instructed the officials to withdraw. In Maharashtra, it's the last day for withdrawing nominations and last-minute push by the Mahayuti and the Mahavikas Aghadi to solve rebel issues. And disruptions at the Indian consular camp after Khalistani elements attack a temple in Canada. India calls these disruptions deeply disappointing. And just a day to go for the final showdown when it comes to Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. Who is going to emerge as the winner? Well, it's a very tough and a very close contest at that. But the battle is on in the key swing states. Very good afternoon. You're watching NDTV 24/7. Let's just cut across to Prime Minister Modi, who is in Jharkhand addressing a rally just ahead of the polls that will take place later this month in Jharkhand.
भाजपा झारखंड की सुविधा, सुरक्षा, स्थिरता और समृद्धि की गारंटी के साथ चुनावी मैदान में उतरी है। मैं झारखंड भाजपा को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं कि कल झारखंड बीजेपी ने बहुत ही शानदार संकल्प पत्र जारी किया है। ये संकल्प पत्र रोटी, बेटी और माटी के सम्मान, सुरक्षा और समृद्धि के लिए समर्पित है। माताओं, बहनों, बेटियों के लिए, उनके कल्याण के लिए, उनके हकों के लिए इसमें अनेक संकल्प लिए गए हैं। गोगो मोदी दीदी योजना, गोगो दीदी योजना, ये हर महीने माताओं बहनों को 2100 रुपये मिलेंगे। मेरी गरीब परिवार की माताओं बहनों को पहले हमने उज्ज्वला योजना के तहत मुफ्त गैस कनेक्शन दिए। अब झारखंड में बनने जा रही भाजपा एनडीए सरकार 500 रुपये में सिलेंडर देगी। अगले साल दीपावली और रक्षाबंधन पर झारखंड की बहनों को 2 मुफ्त सिलेंडर भी मिलने वाले हैं। भाजपा ने ओडिशा की, छत्तीसगढ़ की, मध्य प्रदेश की बहनों को ये घोषणा की और लागू भी कर दिया, उनको पहुंचा भी दिया। इसलिए एक तरफ भाजपा का गारंटी पूरा करने का ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड, वहीं दूसरी तरफ जेएमएम, कांग्रेस, आरजेडी के झूठे वायदे। इन्होंने 5 साल तक माताओं बहनों के लिए कुछ नहीं किया। अब जब भाजपा की योजनाएं सामने आई है, तब उन्होंने आनन फानन में महिलाओं की आंख में धूल झोंकने के लिए नकल करके नई नई घोषणाएं की है। अरे जो लोग शायद नकल तो कर सकते हैं, लेकिन भाजपा के पास जो नेक है, नियत है, वो नेक नियत कहां से लाओगे? और इनकी योजनाएं कभी अब करेंगे, तब करेंगे, दिसंबर टिकना फैला। अरे तुम रहने ही वाले नहीं हो भाई, ये चुनाव में विदाई पक्की है। साथियों, जेएमएम कांग्रेस वालों ने आपको गरीबों के घर के नाम पर भी धोखा ही दिया है। केंद्र की हमारी सरकार ने प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के तहत झारखंड में 16 लाख गरीबों के घर बनाए। 16 लाख कितने? 16 लाख गरीबों के घर कितने? यह आंकड़ा बहुत बड़ा होता है भाई। और ये घर किसको मिले? एससी, एसटी, ओबीसी, जिनके पास पक्का घर नहीं था, ऐसे मेरे एससी, एसटी, ओबीसी परिवारों को मैंने काम किया है। करीब 1,15,000 घर तो यहां ये हमारे गढ़वा जिले के गरीब परिवारों को मिले हैं। अब आप कह रहे थे कि यहां पहले कोई प्रधानमंत्री नहीं आया। ये मोदी पहला प्रधानमंत्री है जो यहां आया। जो बड़े बड़े अच्छे अच्छे काम होते हैं ना, वो मेरे नसीब में ही लिखे हुए हैं। अरे गढ़वाल के लोगों का प्यार पाना, आशीर्वाद पाने के लिए भी तो नसीब चाहिए। ये नसीब मोदी को मिला है, इसलिए आपके आशीर्वाद पाने के लिए आपके पास आ गया। लेकिन जेएमएम कांग्रेस से आप पूछिए कि अबुआ आवास योजना का क्या हुआ भाई।
Breaking news coming in, and this is in regard to the face-off that's taken place over the Waqf JPC. The opposition MPs have written to the Lok Sabha Speaker, and this face-off in regard to the Waqf JPC. The opposition has gone on to say that they want to disassociate from JPC, and the opposition has gone on to say that these decisions were taken without consultations. And to get more on this, we have Aishwarya joining us. Aishwarya, take us through what the opposition is really saying and this face-off that's taking place in regard to the Waqf JPC.
Well, that's for the very first time when the opposition MPs have jointly written to the Lok Sabha Speaker in regards to the entire process of having amendments in the Waqf Amendment Bill. The opposition MPs categorically had written to the Lok Sabha Speaker stating that as they are aware of the JPC constituted by the Waqf by you for the Waqf Bill 2024, there are deep concerns regarding that, and it has been stated that there should be a chairman of the office which should be directed to have a formal consultation with the members. Otherwise, they humbly submit that they want to force to disassociate with the JPC funds for all, and we have been stonewalled. There were different opinions that had been given in these long meetings by the opposition MPs, which had not been taken. It has been alleged by the opposition MPs that there are some remarks that had already not taken into account, and JPC chairperson had deliberately taken decisions to have these concerned amendments and concerned suggestions into place. The opposition MPs also went on to say in a letter cited to Speaker that Chairperson JPC is taking decisions vellemently without discussion with the committee members, issuing dates of meetings and calling for consultations as well. The opposition MPs state that this is a forceful way to migrate and pass the Waqf Amendment Bill. Opposition leaders stated that if sufficient time will not be given to them, then the MPs will disassociate themselves from the JPC. That's a big announcement, a kind of announcement that had been made by the opposition MPs, was a part of the JPC for the Waqf Amendment Bill and had been written to Lok Sabha Speaker. Whether there would be some reply that will be from the Lok Sabha Speaker or not, that remains to be seen.
Right, Aishwarya, thank you so much for joining us with all those details. And staying with the Waqf news, it is the BJP in Karnataka that's protesting. This is with the protests that are taking place in different places in Karnataka. This is mainly to protest the Karnataka Waqf issue and what the BJP has termed as Congress's anti-farmer stand. They are also demanding the resignation of Minorities Minister Zamir Khan. Remember, BJP has been alleging that Karnataka government is evicting farmers to give the land to Waqf board. Now, Karnataka's Chief Minister has asked officials to withdraw notices served to the farmers concerning the Waqf land as the BJP escalates the issue with that statewide protest. We have Pratibha joining us. Pratibha, this is after the Chief Minister has issued a very strict directive to officials to immediately retract all notices sent to farmers concerning Waqf land issues. But it is Zamir Ahmed Khan who slammed the opposition and has gone on to say that all this has been projected very differently from what the true picture is.
Even though
order has been issued by the Chief Minister in terms of withdrawal of all the notices that have been issued to the farmers. What is being suggested by the BJP is that the record of rights, tenancy and crops, which is the RTC, and that is what holds land records, and that is the place where the Waqf board's name has been mentioned. That must be removed from that list. That is the single most important demand made by the BJP. I'm here at the Kengeri Taluk office in Bengaluru, and this is the road that actually connects Bengaluru to Mysuru as well. And just recently, the Channapatna, which is on the same route, is also an area where the farmers have been talking about how their lands have been taken over by the Waqf board. And that is exactly the place where the by-election is also happening. And keeping that election, the three constituencies here in Karnataka where the by-election is supposed to happen, this Waqf issue has become a political flashpoint of sorts. What you see behind me is the BJP protest where senior BJP MLA Mr. Ashwath Narayan as well as Mr. Gopalaya have been heading this protest. All eyes are on the Congress government's reaction to this entire protest.
Thank you so much, Pratibha, for getting us all the details and, of course, protests that are being held by the BJP in various parts of Karnataka. Moving on now to more news, and this is breaking news coming in. And 2 weeks before Maharashtra goes to polls, the Election Commission has ordered the transfer of Maharashtra's DGP, Rashmi Shukla. The opposition led by the Congress has alleged that the senior IPS officer was biased towards the ruling Mahayuti alliance and fair polls won't be possible if she was the top post. Now we have Radhika joining us to get us more on this. Radhika, take us through what has really happened and why has this decision been taken just 2 weeks before the state goes to polls?
That's right, a very significant development ahead of Maharashtra Assembly polls. State DGP Rashmi Shukla has been transferred by the Election Commission. This after multiple complaints had gone to Election Commission as far as Rashmi Shukla is concerned by the opposition leaders. In fact, MVA had written multiple complaints and via oral communication as well as through press conferences, Congress party as well as UBT Sena had time and again stated that Rashmi Shukla was working against the opposition. She was allegedly involved in tapping of phones of several of the top opposition leaders, and that she had in fact given instructions. These are the allegations that she had given instruction to several of top cops in Maharashtra to frame several of the opposition leaders to file false cases against him. So several materials in this regard, including evidence in this regard, had been presented by the opposition before the Election Commission. Time and again, especially over the last few weeks, Sanjay Raut as well as Nana Patole had come out requesting the Election Commission to transfer Rashmi Shukla as she had worked against the interest of the opposition, as she had worked in an unbiased, a biased environment. So therefore, for free and fair elections to be conducted, Rashmi Shukla must be transferred is the request that had gone with multiple complaints and evidence with regard to that as well. Of course, we know for a fact that Rashmi Shukla had worked closely with Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis, and in 2019 when MVA was to come into power, she was embroiled in this controversy involving phone tapping. An FIR was registered against her, but after Mahayuti came to power, she was once again given another top post. Earlier she was the Commissioner of Police in Pune, after which in Jan 2024, after MVA Mahayuti came to power, she was given the top post, which is DG of Maharashtra. Now, of course, complaints going in saying that she worked against and she's continuing to work against the opposition, which is why she must be transferred so that the elections are fair and impartial. So now, yes, this decision being taken by the Election Commission, and Rashmi Shukla has now been transferred as the DG of Maharashtra.
Right, with those claims that the MVA has made that Shukla had got phones tapped. Thank you so much, Radhika, for joining us with those details. And staying with news from Maharashtra, is Maratha Kota activist Manoj J&K Patil, who's made a U-turn hours after announcing that he would be back. He would back 10 to 15 candidates in the elections that will be taking place later this month. He announced that he would not be participating in the polls. So this is, of course, the last day of withdrawal of nominations in Maharashtra, and both Mahayuti and MVA camps are negotiating to convince the rebel candidates to withdraw from the fray. Now, sources in both camps say that many dissenters have decided to withdraw, though many are still digging in and discussions could continue till the last minute. There are more than 50 rebels in both alliances. In Mahayuti, top netas including Devendra Fadnavis and Eknath Shinde have held several meetings with rebels, and the MVA leaders have also been holding discussions and have ruled out the possibility of any friendly fights. And switching tracks now to Jammu and Kashmir, there was ruckus in the newly elected Jammu and Kashmir Assembly as it held its first sitting in 6 years after People's Democratic Party lawmaker tabled an impromptu resolution against the scrapping of Article 370 that took place in August of 2019. The BJP lawmakers, walked out. They opposed the resolution over as the Speaker, Rahim Rathir, of the ruling National Conference said that he was not admitted to any resolution as yet. The BJP-led centre revoked Article 370 5 years ago, and in a contentious move marked by furious protests, this removed the special status and split the former state into 2 union territories. So this is a ruckus that you can see, the chaos that erupted in the first day of the session in Jammu and Kashmir's Assembly Session, and there you can see a lot of ruckus that erupted, and it was the opposition there, of course, but also from what we're hearing is that the LG also addressed the House, and the LG has gone on to talk about how the focus is going to be on tourism and how to improve the prospects when it comes to tourism. Let's just listen in to some of the political reactions, including the Chief Minister.
ये असेंबली जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों के जज्बात को रिफ्लेक्ट करती है। हकीकत यह है कि जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों ने 5 अगस्त 2019 के फैसले पे अपना मोहर नहीं लगाया है। अब हाउस इसको किस तरह रिफ्लेक्ट करेगी, इस पर किस तरह बातचीत होगी, इसको किस तरह रिकॉर्ड पे लाया जाएगा, ये एक सिंगल ऑनरेबल मेंबर तय नहीं करेगा। और जो रेजोल्यूशन आज लाया गया है उसकी कोई अहमियत नहीं है। अगर मकसद होता तो शायद ये लोग हमारे से मशवरा करके तय करते कि हाउस के तरफ से क्या बात आनी चाहिए।
The government will make all efforts for restoration of full statehood and constitutional guarantees available to the state. It would be befitting the reciprocation of the faith reposed by the people of Jammu and Kashmir in our democratic institutions. In the meantime, I urge all stakeholders to work together as one team and extend full support to my government in fulfilling the hopes and aspirations of the people. My government is fully committed to implementing the promises made to the people for further political empowerment and for creating an enabling environment for employment, sustainable development, social inclusiveness, and the expansion of the economy for enhancing the overall quality of life.
And of course, the restoration of Article 370 was amongst the key poll planks in last month's election, the first in Jammu and Kashmir in a decade, since the PDP-BJP government broke down and the president's rule was imposed. So the rolling back of this move has been amongst the major key poll planks in the run-up to the last month's elections amid the recent terror attacks. Also, this comes right on the heels of the terror attack that took place in Srinagar yesterday, right in the center of a market, in which, of course, when we talk about, it is the Chief Minister who also has gone on to react as far as, this assembly session is concerned. He says this assembly session is representing the emotions of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And we have Nazir with us. Nazir, what really, is going to come out of this assembly session? Take us through what all is on the agenda. And of course, the restoration of statehood has been something which has been quite a poll promise, so to speak.
Well, in his address, Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor also reiterated about the restoration of the statehood and talked about it is the resolution passed by the cabinet, Umar Abdullah cabinet, unanimously is the will of the people, and that statehood should be restored. And it is what the Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha said in his first address to the J&K legislature. He also talked about a long political uncertainty before election during the president's rule, very unusual. He talked about that. He talked about the situation, improvement of the situation. He talked about development. He talked about all those things which normally every government, when it takes over, is expected to say. So in government, lieutenant governor or governor, it should be reflecting the policy of the elected government. Having said that, before the lieutenant governor's address, there was a lot of pandemonium, rucks in the assembly, as impromptu resolution or the paper passed, because resolution we can say which is admitted, or when there's a day of resolution. PDP MLA Wahid Rahman Para actually impromptu write a paper which he called a resolution, saying he opposes the abrogation of Article 370. That led to a massive chaos and confusion in the assembly, and some members rushed to the well of the house. BJP members just stood up from their chairs and just opposed it and said, how can he be allowed? Finally, leader of the house and Chief Minister Umar Abdullah stood up and said, look, they knew something is happening, but they never believed that something will be done like this when members have risen and talked about, governors, the election of the speaker. And at the same time, you see a member standing up and talking about resolution, which the government otherwise is bringing a resolution for opposing abrogation of Article 370. This is something which the government national conference has promised. Chief Minister Umar Abdullah himself has said it, and his party has reiterated that they are going to bring a resolution. But Umar Abdullah is saying, look, there would be a day of resolution, private members' resolution, anybody is free, but we could see the motive behind why this resolution was brought. When people were talking, members were talking about, this election of the speaker, and then there would be governor's address. Tomorrow would be the obituary reference of those members who have died before the two sessions. And this session is taking place after a gap of near 7 years. Last assembly session in Jammu and Kashmir had happened in January 2018, and then there was collapse of BJP PDP government, then a long governor's rule, and the first assembly session in the UT, and first assembly session after a gap of near 7 years started with pandemonium rucks, but then governor's address clearly talked about restoration of the statehood and the political uncertainty that was followed by the election, massive participatory election in Jammu and Kashmir.
Right. Thank you so much, Nazir, for giving us all those details. We will keep coming back to you as the assembly session continues over the next couple of days. Now, over 20 people have died and many others have been injured after a bus met with an accident in the Almora district of Uttarakhand. The bus, with at least 45 passengers on board, went out of control in Marjula this morning and fell into a deep gorge while travelling from Garhwal to Kumaon. And to get more on this, we have Kishore joining us. Kishore, the fear is that this death toll could go up, considering there were 45 passengers on board that bus. The Chief Minister has expressed grief at the loss of the lives in the incident and has also instructed for those who need to be airlifted, those who have been injured seriously, for the required treatment to be given to those injured.
बिल्कुल सुबह 8:30 बजे ये हादसा हुआ था, जिसमें अभी तक जो जानकारी मिल रही है 20 से ज़्यादा लोगों की मौत की सूचना आ रही है। इसके अलावा जो घायल है उनको रामनगर का जो सबसे नज़दीक अस्पताल है वहाँ पर उनका इलाज किया जा रहा है। ये अल्मोड़ा के मरचुला के एक कूपी गांव है, वहाँ पर ये हादसा हुआ है। लगभग जब हादसा हुआ था उसके बाद जो तमाम ग्रामीण थे उन्होंने पुलिस को सूचना दी। इसके अलावा वो खुद रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन में लगे। उनका पहला यही था कि जो लोग घायल हैं उनकी किसी हालत में भी तरह से जान बचाई जा सके। इसके अलावा वहाँ रेस्क्यू टीमें पहुँच गई थी, उन्होंने रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन शुरू किया। हॉस्पिटल जाते हुए कुछ लोगों की डेथ हुई है। इसके अलावा जो 4 लोग गंभीर रूप से घायल थे, जिनकी हालत काफ़ी क्रिटिकल थी, उनको रामनगर से एयरलिफ्ट कर ऋषिकेश के जो एम्स है वहाँ पर लाया गया। इसके अलावा मुख्यमंत्री पुष्कर सिंह धामी ने जो गंभीर रूप से घायल है उनको 1-1 लाख रुपए देने की घोषणा की है। इसके अलावा जिनकी डेथ हुई उनके परिजनों को 4-4 लाख रुपए देने की घोषणा की है। इसके अलावा एक और मुख्यमंत्री ने मजिस्ट्रेट जांच के आदेश दिए। जो कुमाऊं के कमिश्नर हैं उनको मजिस्ट्रेट जांच के आदेश दिए हैं कि वो इस पूरे हादसे की जाँच करेंगे, और आरटीओ जो इन्फोर्समेंट है उनको निलंबित कर दिया गया है। कुल मिलाकर अभी सरकार ने एक्शन लिया, लेकिन सबसे पहले जो गंभीर रूप से घायल है उनका इलाज किया जा रहा है। लेकिन ये हादसा काफ़ी भीषण था, जिसमें लगभग 20 के करीब लोगों की मौत की सूचना है। जी
Very tragic incident that is being reported. Of course, Kishore, we will keep coming back to you to get more updates on this tragedy that's unfolded in Uttarakhand early this morning. Like Kishore was mentioning, the bus with at least 45 passengers on board went out of control, and that has resulted in over 20 lives that have been lost. Getting you some more news, and this is after reports of multiple incidents of attacks in Canada and videos purportedly showing Khalistani elements have emerged. Now, the Indian High Commission in Canada has now reacted and blamed anti-India elements for the violence outside the consular camp, co-organized with the Hindu Sabha Mandir in Brampton. This is in Canada. In a statement that the Indian High Commission has said, it's deeply disheartening to see such disruptions being allowed for routine consular work being organized by our consulates with the fullest cooperation of local co-organizers. While the Indian High Commission's latest statement makes no explicit reference to any Khalistani elements, the mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown, has called for punishment to the greatest extent of law for those held accountable for the violence. And his Canadian MP who posted that video of the Khalistani attack, sharing that video, Canadian MP of Indian origin Chandra Arya has gone on to say that a red line has been crossed by Canadian Khalistani extremists. The attack by Khalistanis in Brampton shows how deep and brazen has Khalistani violence and the extremism become in Canada. And this, of course, comes at a time when the High Commission has also gone on to say that there were other such attacks that were planned, including in Vancouver, and efforts were made in order to disrupt those attacks, similar to what unfolded outside that temple in Brampton.
देखो, जो पिछले दिनों में खबरें आ रही कनाडा में जो हालात बने हुए हैं, ये एक किसी मजहब की बात नहीं है। हिंदू हो, सिख हो, सबके लिए ये ट्रूडो साहब हैं, जो प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब हैं, इस तरीके से उन्होंने डिवाइड कर दिया है। वहाँ पे जो खालिस्तानी एलिमेंट हैं, उनको 2 दिनों से मंदिरों के सामने, जो हमारे पूजा की जगह है, जो पिछले दिनों त्योहार थे हमारे, चाहे दिवाली थी और थी, तो उसके लिए वहाँ पे लोग इकट्ठे हो रहे थे। तो खास तौर पे हर जगह इस आदमी ने कि हिंदुस्तान के लोग और पंजाब के खास तौर पे लोग वो पीसफुली वहाँ पे रह ना सकें, यहाँ से उनके बच्चे ना जा सकें, फैमिलीज ना जा सकें, उसे रोकने के लिए ये खास तौर पे डिस्टर्ब करने के लिए ये कुछ खालिस्तानी, जो किसी के नहीं है, ना हिंदुओं के ना सिखों के, लेकिन आप देखिए किस तरीके से उनकी पुलिस, बिल्कुल ट्रूडो साहब की जो पुलिस है वो खालिस्तानियों की पक्ष में खड़ी दिख रही है।
Right, to get more on this, we have my colleague Ghazali joining us. Ghazali, after reports of multiple incidents of attacks in Canada, some that were disrupted by the authorities, and these videos are purportedly showing the Khalistani elements that have emerged, the Indian High Commission, of course, has reacted, blaming these are the anti-Indian elements for the violence that's taken place. Take us through where all were these attacks planned for?
See, during the month of October and November, basically in the month of November, the pension holders across the country in India and those Indians who avail the pension services and are settled abroad have to submit a certificate in the bank, which is called the life certificate. So to ensure that the NRIs in other countries, NRIs staying in different countries also have to submit this document called life certificate. Now, in Canada and in many other countries, the embassies organize these camps where the senior citizens availing pension services can come, fill in their life certificates as provided by the Indian High Commissions there in the camps, and on mass scale people or NRIs fill that form, and that entire process is done. Considering the same, a similar camp was to be organized there in Canada for the Indians staying in Canada, and there was always this fear that perhaps when this consular services camp will be organized, the officials of Indian diplomatic community who are organizing this will face a backlash from the Khalistanis, considering the fact that how India-Canada relations have taken a hit in the last 1 month or so. And exactly as predicted, the Khalistani supporters gathered outside a temple, protested there, then got into a scuffle and started attacking the devotees there inside the temple, or those who were still trying to flee from this spot. So this happened at one particular temple. These camps are being organized not only in temple but gurdwaras as well, and now the Indian High Commission there has expressed its disappointment that on the call or on the demand of the Indians staying there of the Indian community, these camps are organized, and now it has met with violence. So in future, because in the ongoing month now, multiple such camps had to be organized, and perhaps the Indian High Commission has taken a consideration of the view that under these security situations they can't hold these camps. But the larger issue is that it's about the safety of Indians in Canada. This is something that the External Affairs Ministry in their last response, when we asked them about the future of Indo-Canada relations, considering the allegations which are being thrown from Canadian authorities towards Indian politicians, Indian officials, the MEA had strongly objected to these comments, but it also assured that India is primarily more concerned about the safety of Indian citizens. And now the developments in the last 24 hours has certainly shown that there are divisive forces in Canada which is trying to bring communities, Indian communities against each other, and now there are protests happening outside gurdwaras as well at certain locations in Canada. So a certainly very charged and tense atmosphere, and it is up to the Canadian authorities to take stock of the situation, take action against those who are the lawbreakers and are trying to disturb the situation in Canada.
Right, of course, Ghazali, thank you so much. And of course, the mayor there saying that places of worship should be safe. They should be safe spaces that are free of violence and intimidation. With that, we're slipping in a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. To stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro. World's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always bustling. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Hello and welcome to India Sense, where I speak with global opinion makers.
The United States has made a strategic decision over the last 20 years to move closer to India.
Now, a $7 trillion economy seems a perfectly conceivable number.
If you want to be a national party, it's that you sort of accept the way the world is rather than want to endlessly hark back to how it was.
Modi is promoting the digitization of the economy, which is accelerating growth in the country.
Welcome Welcome back. Let's get you the very latest. It's a day to go before the elections in the United States, and it's a very close contest as Donald Trump's campaign works to clear up his remarks about shooting the media. Kamala Harris also went ahead and dodged questions about her vote on a California crime measure. But in the last dash to the election finish line on Tuesday, Kamala Harris's team is cautiously optimistic about her chance of victory in what continues to be an extremely tight race. The big question being asked is why, which way is this election really going to go, how tough is the contest and how high are the stakes. The tightly contested landscape means that the race remains highly uncertain as the campaign enters its final hours. Well, it is Kamala Harris who's gone on to say that they have momentum. She's also, slammed Donald Trump, while Donald Trump says, he is of course talking about that he shouldn't have left the White House in the first place, is what he was heard saying. Let's listen.
So Michigan, 2 days to go. You ready? You ready? In one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, and we have momentum. It is on our side. Can you feel it? And we have the momentum because our campaign is tapping into the ambitions, the aspirations, and the dreams of the American people. Because we are optimistic and excited about what we can do together.
You are great sports fans, and I hope you're having a fantastic time. We're 2 days away from the most important election in the history of our country. We've got to save our country, and it needs saving. It's in very bad shape. The worst economic numbers in generations were just announced 2 days ago. We're losing jobs, we're losing everything, including viability. We're going to end up in a depression based on what's been happening. We've never seen anything like it, at least for the last 40 years. We have to straighten out our country. We have to close our borders. We have to lower our taxes. We have to get rid of inflation, and we're going to do it. Just remember, Kamala and her friends broke it. I'll fix it. Most important election in the history of our country. Go and vote.
And Kamala Harris is expected to host a concert today. Who's going to show up at that concert is the big question. Also, a rally in the run-up to the elections that will start tomorrow evening here in, as far as Indian time is concerned, and of course, early morning in the United States on Tuesday. With that, we're slipping into a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. Stay with us. And before that break, let's just also get you the very latest as far as the voters are concerned. What's really the key issues when it comes to these elections, and how is it different from the elections that took place 4 years ago? My colleague Gauri Dwivedi breaks it down for us.
This is a very special conversation on NDTV with Dr. Salman Akhtar, who's a world-renowned psychiatrist, author of 113 books, someone who has seen US politics for over 50 years, and someone who also writes on a variety of issues. Thank you so much, Dr. Akhtar, for speaking to NDTV. I'm going to come to your book that you've written in just a bit, but let me start by asking you that we're in Pennsylvania, a state that is considered to be pretty much decisive when it comes to the US election results. How do you view the election right now, the issues on which the Indian Americans are set to vote, and most importantly, the American politics right now as it stands?
Let me answer your comment or respond to it in reverse order. One, about the current American politics. I've been in this country now 51 years, and I've never seen and never experienced this country as so divided socially, politically, and such. The country is actually really, really divided, and very strongly in terms of ideology, in terms of feelings, in terms of sense of identity, belonging, philosophy of life, attitude towards minorities, etc., etc. So it's a very strongly emotional election. All elections are emotional. all elections are fundamentally divisive because they say elect A or elect B.
Right.
But those divisions are ideational. Now the divisions are powerfully emotional and almost vitriolic and potentially violent. So it's a very, very powerful and significant moment in American politics.
There hasn't been any violence till now, though there are expectations that the result may coincide with some acts of it. I will come to that in a bit. But first, in terms of the Indian American community, you are one of the strongest members of that, very illustrious member of the community. How has it shaped up in the last couple of years? They've grown significantly. They've doubled in the last 10 odd years. They are powerful in all metrics, economically, socially. Politically, are they getting the voice that they've been wanting to for some time? Are they now part of the political representation that the Indian American community has been seeking for some time?
I think the answer is unfortunately a little complex. One is that when we say Indian American community, we are being a little wishful in viewing that community as a homogeneous. The fact is, even within Indian American community, there are cracks. Cracks, for instance, between Sikhs and non-Sikhs.
Right.
There have been incidences that we don't necessarily need to get into in Canada, in the United States, and in the history in the last 20, 30, 40 years, which have caused a very subtle but painful crack between Sikhs and Hindus. Of course, the Muslims and Hindus from old time, their partition, etc. So there are all kind of cracks in there. Plus, also, whether even within the Hindu community, a relatively moderate, secular, liberal, left-leaning Hindu community versus a Hindutva community. So that what we call Indian community has Sikh community, Muslims who are Indian really from the heart, Muslims who may have other kinds of empathies and sympathies.
Okay.
And then Sikhs who are in some ways broken-hearted and suspect and also angry and resigned. So that we have a collage and a mosaic of Indian community.
Yes.
On one hand, is quite splintered. On the other hand, because the immigration in this country was tilted towards the educated and the potentially affluent or the affluent to be.
Yeah.
Therefore, one thing that binds them together is money. Most Indian people are more affluent than other ethnic groups.
Yeah.
And a quality that they share with the Chinese, I think, and with the Jews of hard work, industry, value of education, family cohesion. In that way, Indian community can be seen as one.
Yeah.
In some ways not as one, in some ways as one.
Yeah.
In the latter issue, I think unfortunately or understandably, the interest that drives this whole country anyway, and I think this side of the Indian interest is money and taxes and revenues and such. And in that way, they might lean one way where they feel that is going to be more advantageous financially for them.
Okay. That's an important insight you gave. You're right about the fact that the Indian American community is affluent. The median household income is about $150,000, which is more than double the average national income. But there are 2-3 aspects of what you said which I want to delve into further. Of course, Indian American community is not a monolith group.
Yes.
There are several aspects to it.
Yes.
And let's talk about those, whether the impact of what's happening in the West Asia crisis has any bearing on how Indian Muslims, who are of course now Indian Americans voting in this, is that an impact you see? Right now in this election, there's a very large prominent grouping in Michigan of Muslim voters. A lot of them are from India. Do you see that having some sort of an impact?
I think so. I think the Muslims in this country, including Indian Muslims, Pakistani Muslims also, but including Indian Muslims, I think are very wary of both parties, but because of the relatively one-sided support of United States in the Middle East conflict. But I think that they are somewhat more wary of the Republicans and more wary of their candidate, because they feel, and I think rightly so, that if the Republicans come in power, especially their candidate, then they might give almost carte blanche to certain powers in Middle East, which would be disadvantageous and hurtful and disenfranchising for the Muslims. So in that way, in their larger solidarity with Muslims, I think the Muslim vote will paradoxically go to the Democrats, although they are not happy with them either.
Okay. What about the factor when it comes to the Pannun issue? It's an issue that hasn't had an impact in terms of the India-US relationship, as it shouldn't, because it's a specific case. But from a voter point of view, from the Sikh community point of view, help us understand that is there some bearing on the Sikh voting patterns here in the United States?
I don't know. The fact is, I don't know. But what I do know is that there is a quiet, painful and subterranean schism that has evolved. And it is since 1984, or when, not 84, 84, right? Yeah, so it has since then lasted. It gets healed over and sealed over, more sealed over than healed over. I mean, obviously the fact that Mr. Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister of India, etc., had kind of both tokenism as well as actual, both healing effects, just like Mr. Obama's election in this country. But I think there is a crack. And I don't think that affects the voting pattern. It may not in this country, I don't think so, because that has less pertinence. I mean, the recent scandals are too recent and too ill understood, actually, frankly. Too ill understood, too vague, and not their knowledge and their influence is not that pervasive. So I don't think that that has any effect.
The other aspect I wanted to ask you about is the wooing of the Hindu Americans here, particularly by the Republican Party. Donald Trump has mentioned that on multiple occasions. How do you see that having a bearing, again, on voting preferences, given the fact that the Indian community here has predominantly been a Democrat stronghold? Studies seem to indicate